Hamas is calling on Israel to enter negotiations for the next stage of the ceasefire after both sides completed their final exchange of hostages for prisoners under Phase 1. The Israeli president says the bodies of 4 hostages handed over by Hamas this morning have been identified. The handover has paved the way for more than 600 Palestinian prisoners to be freed from Israeli jails. This wraps up the swap of 33 captives and some 2,000 Palestinian prisoners under the first phase of that truce. This is set to end on Saturday this week. Hamas has indicated it is ready to start talks on the subsequent stage, stressing that the only way for the remaining hostages to be freed is through commitment to the ceasefire. Israel, meanwhile, says the return of the captives is its top priority, and there will be no agreement on the next phase if Hamas is left intact in Gaza. And for more, Giles Gibson joins us live from Tel Aviv. Giles, the U.S. envoy says a lot of progress has been made to get to the next phase, and of course, the second phase of the ceasefire in Gaza. How far along are negotiations?
Well, not very far along at all in terms of looking at the fact that the talks have not even yet officially begun. But we are seeing the two sides really setting out their stalls, setting out their negotiating positions. As you were saying, Hamas saying that they are fully committed to the ceasefire agreement and signalling their readiness for those talks around Phase 2 to start. We've also been hearing from an Israeli government minister saying that Israeli troops are not going to withdraw from what's known as the Philadelphia corridor. This is basically a strip of land that runs along the southern border of Gaza, along its border with Egypt. According to the initial agreement between the two sides, Israeli troops are supposed to start withdrawing from that corridor on the final day of Phase 1. So that means on Saturday. And if the Israelis stick to their guns, if they don't start withdrawing, this is something that would not only anger Hamas, but it would also probably trigger an angry reaction from one of the key mediators in all of this, of course, the Egyptian government. I mean, looking at it from sort of a 36,000-foot viewpoint, it looks like we have these 3 scenarios in play. The first scenario being that there is some sort of a rapid breakthrough in these talks around Phase 2, but of course, with just a couple of days to go, that is looking extremely unlikely. The second scenario would be some sort of an extension to Phase 1, the ceasefire continuing, and perhaps these handovers of hostages and Palestinian prisoners also continuing on a weekly basis, perhaps. Or there is the third scenario that simply the ceasefire deal collapses and there is a return to hostilities.
Oh, thanks. Giles Gibson there reporting live from Tel Aviv on progress, or rather lack of progress, made towards a solid second stage of the ceasefire in Gaza.